Where's this? All right, guys, so just so it's on the recording, we are going to be working on, this is day 2 on piecewise functions, but first we're doing the last problem off yesterday's practice. So you should have put all 3 of these in your calculator. Did anybody have any trouble? It's under math. So if you're doing this one, it's under math, arrow to the right, and then it's number 1. Okay. And this is what my graph disaster is looking like, yes? Okay. So we need to figure out which pieces of which graph we need. So the square root graph is this blue guy, and we need everything going where? What does this mean? X is less than -4. Anybody know? From -4 going to the left, right? Okay. So if we go to the table, so if you go to your calculator and you do second trace, or second graph, I'm sorry, we want beyond -4. So we actually want -4 to start. So we want -4, 1. So let's put that on here. And is -4, 1 an open or closed circle here? Yeah, -4, 1 is a point, and we have to include that point, but it is an open circle. I mean, you aren't including it, but you are graphing it. -4, 1, okay? And then I think it's just going off to the left. So if we look here, -5 is at 1.4. Looks like the first -7 is at 2. Does everybody have that one? Okay. So that's enough for me to kind of just know that it's doing this. Is that okay with everybody? I just graphed a couple of these points here. All right, then I'm going to switch to this one between -4 and 1. What shape is this one? The V, yep. And I'm supposed to go from -4 to 1. On my table here, let me get rid of this. I don't need this one anymore. I need to, so go into the table, I need to be going, whoops, from -4 to 1. So there's -4 to 1, and I'm using these values as my ordered pairs. So I have -4, 1. So what does that mean for the graph if this one starts at -4, 1? This one also starts at -4, 1. What do I do to that point? I fill it in, okay? They're overlapping right here. So you just fill it in and keep going. You don't have to know that it was once hollow. It's now filled in. And then, does anybody know what the slope of this line is doing? If you look at those ordered pairs, at -3, it's at -1. Should have a slope of 2. And we go all the way to 1, it says, and at 1, it's at -5. Let's see, at -1, it was at -5. And at 0, it was at -7. So it's this big chunk of the V like this. Yes, you're right. I didn't pay any attention to the other end. Thank you. So we had -4, 1, -3, -1, and so on down to -7. No, 0, -7, sorry. And then the last one was 1, -5, and that 1, -5 was a less than, not a less than or equal to. The -4, oh, I thought it had it or equal to, did I? Oh, interesting. No, neither one of them had an or equal to. Oh my gosh, I bombed that one. So it should be open. Doesn't matter which color I do it. The -4, 1 was not included in either of them. It is discontinuous. They meet up there, but it wasn't an or equal to in either one. All right, my bad. Then we're doing the line, which is the black line on my graph right here. And we want the points from 1 to the right. So we're using this 1, 2 is the first ordered pair. 1, 2. It's a solid circle because it had the or equal to. And the next point is 2, 5, which should make sense because it had a slope of 3 here, right? And if you want to do one more, it's at 3, 8, which is the top of our graph paper. All right. Yes, no, I know they're miserable, but if you're using the calculator to help, I think you'll be all right. Just to fill this in, the domain is not all real numbers because it is going left forever and right forever, but there was one spot where it wasn't included because they didn't include -4 for some reason. So you'd have -infinity to -4 and -4 to infinity because it includes everything except -4, or you could just write cannot equal -4. All real numbers except x cannot equal -4. There were 2 discontinuities. There was a hole, which you don't have to write that, but a hole at -4 and a jump at 1. And again, that's not something I'm going to ask you. I'm just bottom to top, though. Can anybody do bottom to top? This purple is increasing enough that it would match up with this. So the bottom is the y value here on up. Can anybody tell me, was it -7 maybe? Okay. Just to review domain and range again. But none of that will be on the quiz. You will just have to graph it. You will have to tell where it's discontinuous, but it's like a multiple choice question. Okay, is it discontinuous at one of these spots? And it doesn't ask what kind of discontinuity at all. All right. I really wanted to spend some time reviewing factoring, but let's just go to the notes today and then we'll see how we do. I just think we need to hit factoring every day because was reviewing. Okay, equation of a line. You're going to have to write an equation of a line today, okay? And so let's review, what do you need to know to write an equation of a line? If you know 1 point and a slope, or 2 points, can you write an equation of a line? Okay, and you remember how to do that? We used this form a lot. Remember that was called point slope form? Now, as we are writing function equations today, we need to make this into this form when we're done. Actually, we could just add the y over to the end, but I'm going to ask that we stick with slope-intercept form. All right, so that's just a quick review of those. If you had to 2 points, you'd find the slope first. Okay, and remember, slope looks like this. Whoa, that's a y. Everybody good? Remembering all that stuff? All right. So we are going to work on today writing the equation given a piecewise functions graph. There are 2 parts to writing an equation. One is writing the equations of each chunk, and the other part is writing the domain intervals for each chunk. I find the domain intervals are way easier. So can anybody tell me what domain interval this first chunk is applying to? Left to right, what is the piece of x's that we're talking about for that line right there? -5 to -1, everybody okay? Left to right, okay. Then those are x values, so you're going to put an x in the middle. And then when you go left to right, you use 2 negative values. I'm sorry, you use 2 less than symbols. Wow, 2 negative values, 2 less than symbols, okay? Whenever you write what I call a sandwich sentence, you use 2 less thans, okay? When you're sandwiching on your x in between 2 numbers. Okay, something is wrong with mine though. Can anybody tell what's wrong? Yes, Emma? Great job. She said this one on the left had a solid circle and then an open circle. So this one needs a less than or equal to. Perfect. All right, can anybody help me with the next chunk? We have a jump here, or a goes undefined in between here, but we start from what? 1 to 4, is that right? 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1 to 4, okay? What goes on either end? X goes in the middle, and the symbols are both less than or equal to's. And then that last chunk here, how do we write this? Anybody know? It starts here at x equals 4. Was that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And it goes to the right forever, because we're going to assume it runs off with an arrow. So how do we write that? Just greater than 4. Do we need an or equal to? No, it had an open circle. All right. I think that's the easy part, though this one is not really bad at all. All right, horizontal lines, they're our favorite, because where did this graph stay? Y stayed down at -2, so that's it. You can write as, or you can just put a comma, or you can leave it blank, I don't care. But it's -2 between here and here. What did the homework do in between those? Did it just have a comma? I don't remember. They just said if, okay. That's what I should put then, if. I don't care if you don't put anything in there, but. Okay. Where's the other easy one? Let's do the green one next. What is this y value staying at? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it 5, guys? So this one stays at 5 if x is greater than 4. All right, now we have one more line to try to figure out. You could do this by finding 2 points, finding the slope, putting in point slope, etc., etc. Is there an easier way? Can you tell me what the slope of this line is? Can you just look at it and tell what the slope is? It's going up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1 every time, right? So the slope of that line is 2. Now, if you knew the y-intercept, you could put the equation together right away. Some of you can figure out what the y-intercept would be. The other option is to pick one of the points on that line and use that point. Okay? Can you guys visualize where the y-intercept would be, or do you want us to use a point? If you had gone back down 2 and over 1, isn't this where that line would cross the y-axis? So in terms of the equation, the y-intercept would have been at -2, -4. So what's the equation of the line? Y equals, which we're not going to bother to write because it already says f of x equals 2x minus 4. Now, if I had picked a point, I'm going to use 4, 4 as my point. And I know that my slope is 2. Then I could have done y minus 4 equals 2, x minus 4 distributed, and then added this 4 over here, and I would have got the same equation, 2x minus 4, okay? Let's try this one. Oh, no. All right, is everybody okay with starting with the domain intervals first? Okay, so this is going to the left forever, starting at what point? X equals -2. So how do you say to the left of -2? Less than -2 would mean to the left, and the parabola part that we're looking at has a solid circle, so somebody said less than or equal to. That seems good. All right, then the next chunk goes from here to here. So that is sandwiched in between what two numbers? -2 from the left to +2 on the right. And they're both open circles, so we just need less thans. Write that so it's not so messy. All right, and the third chunk, this line over here, starts at 2 and goes off to the right forever. So how do we write that? X is greater than 2, but it has a solid circle, so we need greater than or equal to. All right, you get the parabola out of the way first. Vertex form of a parabola looks like this. We practiced. We did writing an equation of a parabola, 2 different ways. How can we figure out this parabola? Well, do we know the vertex? The vertex is at -4 and up 0. So that means that's h and that's k. X minus -4 would be +4 squared plus 0, which you could leave off. Now, do we need to put a point in to figure out the stretch, or is there a stretch? Does anybody know how you tell? Do you remember the basic parabola that was just x squared? If you put in a 1 and you square it, you get out a 1. You put in a 2 and you square it, you get out a 4. Everybody with me? So if I go over from this vertex, does it go over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4? So I don't think there's a stretch, okay? The other way you would have to do that is you would have to find a point, like -2, 4 went in there. And then you would put that in for your x and y. So you'd have 4 equals a times -2 plus 4 squared. Well, -2 plus 4 is 2, squared is 4. You divide and you get a is 1. All right, so a is just 1. So back up here, I'm going to write x plus 4 quantity squared, because that's all we had left. You can put a plus 0 on the back if you want. All right, someone help me with the red. The red's not bad. What is the slope doing? Up 1 over 2. The slope of the red one in here is up 1 and over 2. And we already know the y-intercept. The y-intercept, it's crossing at positive 3, isn't it? Right there. So that equation would look like mx plus b, yes? It's y equals, but f of x. So this was our m and this was our b. And the last one? Can anybody tell what this slope is doing? Be careful. Eyeballing it, you should know right away it has what kind of a slope? Negative slope, okay? It's going down 2 and right 1, down 2 and right 1. So this piece has a slope of negative 2. And can we figure out what the b value would be if we were to visualize what would happen? Can you tell me where it would cross the y if we had continued it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it's at 10. The other way you can do that is you can pick a point that you do know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It currently goes through 2, 6 with a slope of negative 2, which would go y minus 6 equals negative 2, x minus 2, y minus 6 equals negative 2x plus 4 plus 6 would give you 2x plus 10, but we just eyeballed it and figured it out. Oh, I lost my negative along the way there, sorry. It was a negative 2 slope starting at 10 if it had gone that far. Okay, miserable, we can do this. How are we feeling? Okay, you want to try this one on your own? At least get a start? Can you at least do the back part if the third piece is tricky, but for now, let's just worry about the linear pieces and the domain restrictions. This one is a sandwich. Kaylee, can you tell me the x values for this piece that I'm calling the red chunk right here? What are the x values for that red chunk right there? Yes, and that's the order. We'd need -7 to -3. Do either of them need a or equal to? Yep, the -7. Good job. Antoine, do you have the blue chunk that I'm calling right here? Can you tell me what the x values are here? Perfect. And anybody got the last one yet? Adriella, do you have the green swoopy thing? Where's that going? Perfect. All right, we're feeling comfortable with those now? Okay. What about the first line? Easy peasy. What is the y value? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just staying at 4. Anybody tell me the equation of the blue line? It's not too bad either. The slope is 1, right? going up 1 and over 1. And the y-intercept is crossing at 2 here. So the b value is 2. So if we just do mx plus b, it's 1x plus 2, or just x plus 2 would be beautiful. All right. Yes. Ooh. Okay. Parent function, yes. That's what you had to recognize, that this is a square root graph. Then the square root graph goes a x minus h plus k. If it's shifted, what is this one shifted? Right to 2. So how do we put in right to 2 here? X minus 2, yes. We'll shift it right to 2. All right, and then we have to figure out if there's any stretch, but the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 4 is 2. So if I went over 1, up 1, that seems to be okay. If I went over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going up 2. I don't think there's any crazy stretch, okay? Pretty sure on the quiz, I only gave you lines for the one you have to write equations for. All right, do we have one more of these we can do together for practice? Ben, can you help me with the first interval for the domain restrictions for this first chunk? Yeah, -5, right? Is less than x is less than -1. Okay. Maddie, can you help me with the next chunk? Anybody agreeing or disagreeing? Less than or equal to, because we had solid dots, x values -1 over to +2. Seems okay. Raina, can you tell me the interval for this last, I don't know, half a parabola or whatever this is? Okay, we're just care about going to the right at this point because we're what values are going in for x. Yep, good job. And it is a greater than because it has an open circle. Okay. So these are our domain intervals, so left to right. All right, now jumping back, let's see. Should we do the blue one first on mine, the line? Anybody tell me the equation of that line? The slope is what? Be careful. I think it's 3, isn't it? Up 3 and over 1? If you counted the whole thing, it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and over 3. The whole chunk, so that would reduce to a slope of 3. And where is the b value? Where's it crossing the y-axis at? +1. So put that all together and we have what? 3x plus 1. All right, what is this chunk? Anybody know what that's a piece of? Yeah, this is a square root of x graph. Can you tell me what happened to it? The square root of x normally goes through the origin. It would go over 1, up 1, and over 4, up 2. This has shifted which way? 5 to the left? How do you say 5 to the left? X plus 5 inside. Okay. So if I put in a -1 into my equation, -1 plus 5 would be 4. Square root of 4 would be 2. Is that where we're at? -1 is at 2? Seems to be working just fine that way. All right. Green one. I think that's a piece of a parabola opening down, you think? So we need vertex form of a parabola. Okay, where's the vertex? Can we tell? I think the vertex is this open circle, which would be 1, 2, 3, 2, 4. So we'd have x minus 2 squared plus 4. It definitely has an a value other than 1. How do I know that? It's going down, yeah. When we did these before, we plugged it in ordered pairs, so 3, 3 seems to be on that graph. If we wanted to plug in an ordered pair of 3, 3 for x and y to find our a the complicated way, I'm pretty sure you guys are right, it's just -1, but if we put in a 3 and we put in a 3 here, this would be 3 equals 3 minus 2 is 1, squared is 1, so we'd have 1a plus 4. If you subtract 4, you get -1. So it had a negative and an x minus 2. Yep. Is it okay with you if I tell you that I'm pretty sure I only put lines again on the actual quiz? Yes, right now. Yes. All right. I must stop the video and then talk a little bit more about factoring. All right, so the practice is just to do the Delta Math assignment. If you are better with pen and paper and Delta Math is really giving you trouble, worksheet 18B and 19A are 4 more practice problems on these writing equations, okay? Otherwise, you don't have to do those 4, but they might help you get a start. And the answers to those are in Google Classroom. All right, do you want me to show you what the Delta Math looks like? Has anybody worked on it? Because it has 2 different ways of doing this.